G'day viewers, my name's Graham Stevenson and I'd like to invite you to come on a journey of creativity and learning and adventure through the series Colour in Your Life. There's an artist in every family throughout the world, and lots of times there's an artist deep down inside all of us as well. So grab your kids, your brothers, your sisters, your aunties, uncles and mums and dads and come and see how some of the best artists do what they do.
Well, hi folks, and welcome back to Colour in Your Life. Well, we are in the studio today of Jo Frederiks. Jo's very close to us. Jo is actually the manager of our social networking platform for Colour in Your Life. So, Jo, it's good for a laugh, isn't it? So, obviously, we know each other quite well. There's no two ways about that. But we're going to be spending the day with Jo and going over one of her sketches. Jo, in the last 10 years, has done an amazing job in spreading her message across the world, literally. It's sort of quite incredible what she's actually done, and the many tens of thousands of followers that she has that follow her now because of the power of that message as well. But your history goes back to, you've been painting and drawing for a long, long time.
Probably about 15 years.
Okay,
now. Yeah.
And you got a degree as well?
4 years at the Arts Academy in Brisbane.
Yeah. And you've gone on from there. I think a lot of the work that you produce these days has a fairly powerful message behind it as well, and that's something we'll be discussing during the day as well. But you're going to be doing a sketch for us, and you do preliminary sketches before you do your main works. Yeah. Well, that's what we're going to be doing today, which is a preliminary sketch, and then we're going to go on just to show you guys what Jo actually does as far as finishing these pieces off, and the very, very powerful message that she has to deliver in the works that she produces as well. So let's go along and we'll make a start.
Okay.
Okay, Jo, well, what type of materials are you using for the sketch before you started?
Okay, so for this piece I'm using Blackwing pencils. They're German made and they're just an incredibly soft lead. And normally with soft leads you can't get a super sharp point on them, but with these ones you can. Oh, and paper's Fabriano. Hot pressed. And one of the main reasons I use this is it doesn't contain animal byproducts. You'll find most papers out there have contained gelatine, whereas this is gelatine free.
Well, I can see you've already made a start on the picture you're working on today.
Yeah, just blocking in lightly and building up really gradually in layers.
And this really is a preliminary sketch for the fact that you go on and do some quite complex paintings with what you do, but delivering a pretty strong message, I think, about your belief as an artist and as somebody that's been a practicing vegan for 26 years as well.
Yeah.
Which is pretty amazing. And I mean, a lot of people in the world think that being a vegan is about a diet.
It's not.
It has nothing to do with that, does it?
Exactly.
So can you explain to the people that are watching this, what does it mean to you?
Okay, so the media bias against vegans and celebrities following trendy plant-based diets is largely responsible for the misconception. Veganism is a philosophy of non-violence. It's a way of living which seeks to exclude all forms of exploitation and harm to animals. And it's about justice. Everyone should have the fundamental right not to be harmed, exploited, or killed. It's that simple.
You've got many, many fans across the world. Some of your videos and the work that you've done has actually had millions of views and shares with the people all over the planet, but it's simply about delivering a message of how do we have a kinder and more sustainable world.
Exactly.
Literally, I mean, it's simply not a matter of an idea of a diet by any means. It's the philosophy of how do we treat all of the creatures on the planet. You've been an artist for quite some time, but you've been, I'd say, a political artist in a sense when you think about it.
Probably about eight or 10 years.
Yeah, okay.
I think, probably when Colour in Your Life started.
Okay.
So same time frame.
It was a bit of a revelation for you when you sort of realised that the power of art could actually deliver a message for you as well?
Yes, thanks to you.
Well, thank you. And so, you know, in saying that, you know, your ideas, I mean, where do you get a lot of your ideas from for the work that you produce?
That's a really good question. Ideas come from observing society. For example, this painting that's just to the side of me here. When I see people, I see the ramifications and I see the victims of their non-vegan choices. Another example is when I'm in a supermarket. I see mortuary aisles of neatly packaged dead body parts and rows of products tested on animals. I see a morgue and everyone's oblivious to it. It's quite surreal.
And you also grew up on a really large cattle station that your father owned.
Very large.
And saw a lot of what went on in animal agriculture right there. And do you think that had anything to do with the influencing of your decisions?
It didn't at the time, it does now. I think the drawing I did, Tools of Torture, was inspired by that.
The stuff that they utilised to literally sort of chop up animals before they're even dead anyway.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's been a great insight to experience life on a cattle station. I'm just really grateful that years later I was able to break the cycle of indoctrination that we were all born into, which is the false belief that consuming and using animals is normal, natural and necessary, when nothing could be further from the truth.
You mostly do the preliminary sketches before you do your major works?
Always.
Yeah.
Yeah, always.
As I said, from the time that I've known you, you've literally done hundreds of pieces that address the situation of animal agriculture in the world. And
yes.
The one picture that I remember you doing a while back was called All Are Individuals, and they've got a picture of which is a very poignant picture of one pig in the middle of a whole bunch of pigs in a piggery.
Yeah.
And that's basically their life, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
They just they don't move, they don't go anywhere, they just stand there, literally for their whole life, and they just get fed and then killed.
Incredible.
It's just disgusting, really, when you think about what we do just for bacon. So who in the process of you becoming an artist, who are the people that have influenced you in both situations, both in your art and then your decision to become a vegan?
I think Joanne MacArthur is a huge influence on me. She's a photojournalist who just does incredible work. She documents the hidden lives of the animals we use and abuse that are hidden, and she tells their stories. It's really powerful photography, but amazing work. If you go to We Animals Media, you can see her work there. It's just amazing stuff.
Well, a lot of the ones that we're screening up at the moment are finished pieces, which I think they are quite amazing, to be honest with you. But you know, Feeling Comfortable, which is a cow basically on a leather chair.
That painting represents just another of the countless ways we use animals as resources. Animals are not for our use, for clothing, entertainment or any other purpose.
Also the Flies of Intolerance, which is a lot of religious aspects that are involved in the dominion of animals, and that word sort of meaning that you own them, but you don't really. You're the caretaker of animals, in the sense, if you look at the old Hebrew text of that.
Yeah.
Pictures like fork-etting, the right to life, so it's a fork, and so instead of forgetting, it's a fork into the pig, which is pretty amazing as well. So they're quite incredible pieces, they really are. And you've also become friends with a very influential gentleman called Philip Wallen, who's actually a friend of Sir David Attenborough's as well. So amazing connection. Philip actually opened up one of your shows a few years back, and he actually flew in from The Hague to actually open the show up, and he's just an amazing man.
It's one of the best speeches you'll ever hear. If you go to my website, jofrederiksart.com, you can watch it there.
Yeah, he made a classic quote to the people that were standing there, and it was that Joe didn't create these images, we did. Through what we do to animals, which was quite an amazing quote, I must admit.
Yeah.
Great art changes you. Look around you. It rearranges the furniture of your mind. It cuts, it cures, and sometimes terrifies. But it is truth laid bare by brushstrokes. What Joe does has a quality to it. These are subversive acts accomplished by poets, artists, and writers, people like Jo, particularly today in this environment where we are now entering the new dark ages. Look around you. Jo didn't do these pictures. We did. Human beings. We did it. But it was her brush that brought them to life.
Well, what you've done as well, you've prepared a couple of pieces for us today, because they do take a long time for you to do your sketches, but we'll turn over to the next one so that the viewers can get a little bit of a better idea of where we're going with this.
Okay.
So we've got a piece that's a little bit more progressed, which is looking great. So your work has even, as I said before, crossed into political boundaries across the world, and you were actually mentioned in Polish Parliament at one stage because of some of the work that you did, and one of the politicians was an activist herself.
Yeah,
and then spoke
shame
about
I
you.
can't speak
You spelled Polish because we still can't work it out.
Would have been helpful.
And there's also another piece that you've done which has really travelled across Europe quite amazingly. It's actually on billboards and signs.
Yeah, Go Vegan World commissioned this piece. Sandra Higgins, the director and founder of Go Vegan World, designed both the concept and the headline, which is "They trust us, we betray them," which I think is incredibly powerful. You can download free Go Vegan guides from their website at goveganworld.com.
Another piece that you've done as well, we didn't even make it this far, and I'm quite sure that the majority of the world doesn't realise that all of the male chicks that are hatched in the hatcheries are actually ground up.
Or suffocated.
Yeah, or suffocated in plastic bags. I mean, literally millions and millions of them put into a grinder and just turned into to flesh, and I think they're redistributed to pigs and fertiliser then. And you've also got another one called gondola, and these are cages that pigs are put into on basically a huge rotisserie basis, and they are
lowered into gas chambers.
They're lowered into gas chambers, which is carbon dioxide, and they're killed basically with carbon dioxide as they go down and come back up again. So they basically suffocate to death while they're on this particular ride, which is sort of quite horrendous as well. I
had to take screenshots from the video to create the artwork because there weren't any photos online. So I visually documented an atrocity that industry wants hidden from the public. If you go to Farm Transparency Project, you can watch undercover footage there. It will definitely open your eyes.
Now also, there's some crazy stuff. I mean, basically the way that we're plundering the oceans as well, and obviously eating just about every bit of seafood that we can get. There's a piece that you've got called Hooked into the Madness. And that is a lot of the fish that basically caught these days are dried out and mulched up and used as cow fodder. These are vegetarians that are now being forced to eat meat.
1/3 of the trillions of fish killed each year are fed to the animals people needlessly eat. It's predicted that the oceans, the lungs of the earth, will be void of life by 2048. And when the oceans die, we die.
But it's the same with the Amazon as well.
Yes.
They're pulling down a good majority of the Amazon to actually create more pasture areas for cattle. And the thing with the rainforest soil is it's not very fertile anyway. And it turns into desert very shortly afterwards, and then they pull down more rainforest to plant more grass.
It's more than 150 acres of rainforest that are cleared every minute of every day in the name of animal agriculture. There's a piece that I did that represents that. It's our home too. And again, that's the image that I drew from Joanne MacArthur.
And this brings me to a position whereby our planet has been locked down now for 6 months because of a virus that came out of animals. And the point being is that this is one of a whole bunch of them that's eventually going to get us if we continue to do what we're doing with animal agriculture across the world. It is vitally important that we do understand that this has a direct correlation to the eating of a lot of these animals in conjunction with the diseases that we do get, even heart disease and diabetes, which comes to it as well. So, and your work demonstrates quite profoundly what is happening and what can happen to us at the same time, and what is happening to us right now. You must have good comments and bad comments. What are some of the bad comments that people throw at you as well?
Oh, no, you don't want to know. No, it's people either love it or they hate it. There's definitely no middle ground with my work. One journalist wrote that my art is repulsive, but it's what we do to the animals we commodify that's repulsive, not the art.
I mean, even to the extent, and I just don't like hunting at all myself, I must admit. The piece I'm Not a Trinket, you've got two of them, one's with a rhino and one's with an elephant.
Yes.
Just portraying the fact that these magnificent animals are simply killed for their tusks and their horn, which is just so insane, you know, and they're disappearing more and more and more all the time. In fact, the eastern rhino became extinct last year, eastern black rhino, which is a incredible shame. So
you're referring to the rhino as a magnificent animal?
Yeah,
because
in itself,
rhino's no different to the cow.
No different to a cow, admittedly. But you've got a picture there about a barbecue and a fundraiser for animal welfare, and they're actually eating an animal, which is a bit hypocritical anyway.
Absolutely. There's a vast difference between animal rights and animal welfare. Animal rights demand all animals live free from exploitation and harm, whereas animal welfare, it endorses the mutilation of animals, it endorses the confinement of animals, and it endorses the execution of animals. And how can we possibly have a welfare organisation whose mission statement is to protect animals when they're endorsing the killing of animals? It doesn't make sense.
So you use the pencil and also the pen, and this is what you do your pointillism with as well?
Yeah.
Okay, well, can we have a look at that and see how you go about that?
Yeah, this is just really time-consuming and tedious to do, but the effect is nice. It's just an effective way, and it just gives texture and highlights a sign.
Now, another amazing piece that you've done is in conjunction with palm oil production and the pollution that comes from that industry as well, and the amount of trees that they pull down, particularly in Asia.
Yeah.
And the fact that the orangutans are disappearing at a rapid rate because of the deforestation of where they live as well. And I think the picture sums up really well what's going on over there, and these two young orangutans are grasping each other, surrounded by all of the products that use palm oil as well.
Yeah.
So it's a really amazing painting.
Thank you.
Now, you've even used some quite famous people in a lot of what you do as well, because sometimes they are conscious about what's going on or unconscious about the adverts that they do. But you've used Albert Einstein in one of your drawings, and the title is "You Don't Have to Be a Genius," which is great.
That piece was obviously inspired by the iconic photo of Joaquin Phoenix, which had the headline, "We are all animals."
The description of the drawing in the end is just as important sometimes as the painting itself.
Yeah.
So what was the first awakening for you when you decided that you wanted to be a vegan? You wanted to change your life to that extent?
26 years ago, I read a book by Peter Singer called Animal Liberation, and it was just a light bulb moment. That book introduced me to the horrors behind dairy and egg production, and so it was an instant realisation that I didn't want anyone killed or harmed in my name. So it was as simple as that.
So the picture you're actually working on has a pretty distinctive title to it. The dairy industry kills me and my mum. And most people aren't aware that potty calves are taken away from their mothers basically straight away after they're born. The males are used for veal.
Yeah.
And the females are brought up to be dairy cows as well. But there's some pretty horrendous things that happen in the whole process, really.
Yeah. The dairy industry separates babies from their mothers shortly after birth, which causes immense distress for both. The mothers are forcibly impregnated each year until they're sent to execution around 5 or 6 years of age. And the female infants suffer the same fate. It's inhumane. And what's insane is we have absolutely no need whatsoever to be drinking the breast milk from another species.
When there's plenty of other substitutes out there.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right, well, seeing your work does take a long time, Jo, and you've actually produced another one for us so that you can work on that. There's almost a finished piece, so let's swap over to the next one.
Okay.
Well, we've put the final piece up, and you can see that there's a lot of work that's gone into it, and you're still tapping away with your pen.
Yeah.
But the message is pretty plain to see. Yes, you've got another piece here called Why Love One and Kill the Other, which is pretty poignant and powerful when we have cats and dogs. And then we have pigs and chickens. We eat one and we have the others as pets.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I think most people say they love animals. Most people are against animal cruelty and agree that it's wrong to harm animals, but every non-vegan choice they make contradicts that core belief. It's just a great example of cognitive dissonance. Yeah, so I'm just trying to pull out some little details and highlights.
Mm-hmm. So do you feel the future for Jo Frederiks' work is? I mean, what would you like to see happen with what you're doing?
Oh gosh, good question. Hopefully a book, a picture book in the near future.
Yeah.
The goal has always been for the exhibition to travel. It's such a vast body of work and it's an educational exhibition. Okay, so these are just adding little highlights and just the little details which makes the whole image sort of pop.
Yeah.
Most of the time has been spent just building up the layers really gradually, which is why it takes such a long time. So yeah, just getting those little highlights to pop.
But a lot of your work is sold overseas these days because you do have such a wide reach of people that believe in your work and what you're doing. So that's pretty cool. Well, Jo, thank you for a very illuminating day, not just with your work, but also what your work says to society and to people across the world. It is political in its sense, but it does convey a very powerful message. So thanks for having us in your studio.
Thank you.
Well, a very interesting day and a very illuminating and educational one, I would say as well. Jo, it's a pleasure, as always, darling.
Thank you.
Being in your studio and then seeing what you do, it's amazing, and your talent really is quite extraordinary, to say the least. I think it's very important that art makes a statement, social, political, and about the world that we live in, and that's exactly what Jo's art does. Now, if somebody wants to come in and talk to you about veganism or your artwork itself, which is quite amazing, go on and have a look at what Jo's done, because there is a huge body of work in her website. What's your website address? jofrederiksart.com. There's no C in Fredericks. Okay, and also if they want to go to...
if they want information on becoming vegan or finding out more about veganism, goveganworld.com has a great how-to guide that they can download for free.
Excellent, excellent. Great points. And if you want more information, you can obviously come to us at colouryourlife.com and go on and see us in our Facebook page and YouTube as well. Got lots of things going on. And still, regardless of what the COVID lockdown has done to us, we're still out there doing what we do. But until we see you guys again, remember, make sure you put some colour in your life, and we'll see you next time. Bye now.
Put veganism in your life.
There you go.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Mm-hmm.